Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this month's Money Matters session. We're so excited to have Lazena Kelly-Andrada to be presenting on the mysteries of homeowner insurance. It is a topic that we talk about through our pre-purchase workshop, but unfortunately, because of time, we're not able to spend a lot of time on a valuable topic of why it's so important to ensure the most important financial asset of your life. So we're excited to have who I consider our subject matter expert partner with us this evening. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. I do want to go ahead and make this live on Facebook for those that are in our social media space. And hopefully when I do that, we can get the presentation under control, because it looks like my laptop is having a great old time on its own. I promise you, I'm not pressing any buttons. Okay. What I may try to do is, let me stop sharing my screen for a moment, see if I start over, if that helps. Okay, we're going to start over and see if I refresh, if that helps us out at all. So,
okay.
Okay. Okay, hopefully that helped our problem. So it is all yours. Again, for those that are joining, we appreciate your patience and happy that you are joining us this evening. And we may have to look at a different way of presenting, because for some reason this is in a loop. So I'm going to try. Yeah, so just to save time, I apologize that the screen isn't in a cleaner format, but I do want us to get started. So we'll go ahead and have to work it this way. I do believe the participants are getting the presentation, so you'll be able to follow along. But go ahead, Lazena, take it away.
All right. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lazena Kelly-Andrada. I am a State Farm agent in Berkeley, California. I've been with State Farm 34 years this year. Yeah, in the fall, it'll be 34 years. I had to think about that. I enjoy what I do. I'm a full service agency. If on the screen, you'll see that I have 4 team members, and I was thinking about it. Combined, all 4 of those team members collectively have approximately 50 years of experience added together. I have someone here who's going to do a little bit of the introduction, the bio on me, because I don't feel comfortable doing that. And she's going to have a few things to say about her and her team members, and then I'll go into the homeowners presentation when she's done.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. My name is Miani Andrada. I am Lazena's oldest and best daughter. Probably the best thing that ever happened to her. I'll go ahead and give a little spiel about Lazena's professional experience. I'll chat a little bit about the team. I'll go over our social medias, and then I'll pass it back off to Lazena to get into the ins and outs of all things insurance. We should be having a lot of fun this evening. So just a little bit about Lazena. She was born in the Bay Area. She's been here majority of her life. She got her undergrad from, oh gosh, daughter points right here, from Long Beach. She got her undergrad from Long Beach State, and later got her master's from John F. Kennedy in San Francisco. She's been working with State Farm pretty much her entire life. I want to say she started when she was in her early 20s, maybe 22, 23. She started off in claims and then later migrated into personal production. So she has been in this industry for quite some time. I want to say total, and I'm sure it's on the screen, she's been a part of State Farm for 34 years, which is older than me. So she is an expert in this industry, and she has been a licensed agent for 19, almost 20 years, which is almost older than my sister. I would say her strengths include being really candid with customers and even myself when it comes to insurance, and being able to translate what insurance means in a way that is easy for everyone to understand. I know just myself, when I first started paying my own bills and being responsible for my own finances, I didn't know what was what, but I know one thing my mom does is she does a great job at not only educating you, but putting it in a way that makes sense for you, and, you know, makes you feel comfortable when it comes to managing your own finances, your own policies, etc. So I know one thing that she prides herself on is providing quality service. She's received tons of awards from State Farm. That's like her mission every single year. She knows she's going to get a certain award, and she actually puts that in the team meetings. She's like, I don't care about anything else, but I will be getting this reward. So let's backtrack and see what we have to do to get there. So she's received Gold Honor rewards, Legion of Honor rewards, travel points, all of the above. So she really does pride herself on bringing value to the table, and making sure that everyone knows what they need to know when it comes to ensuring that they are protected. Just to go over the team, I know Lazena spoke a little bit about us. She does have 1, 2, 3, I think there's 4 of us. There's 4 team members. We have the option to be remote or in-house. We are all fully certified. So my sister is actually the first picture. I'm the second picture. We were forced into this industry. So we do have all of our licenses and certifications. That is not by choice, but I can say we are extremely grateful because our friends actually come to us asking insurance questions, and it feels good to be able to answer them. But we are a full service team. We really pride ourselves on, just like Lazena, just really being able to provide quality customer service. I think being insured is one thing, and the insurance piece is great, but just being a human behind the phone and ensuring that our customers, they feel connected to us, they feel like they can trust us. And in the end, that just makes the process easier and run smoother for everyone because there's full transparency. If we go to the next slide really quickly, Lazena does have profiles on all the social media platforms. So we are on Google as well as Instagram, which is new and fun to our office. We are still getting used to the business side of Instagram, but I can say it's a really fun and engaging way for us to connect with our customers. So you'll see us post on our Instagram a lot, as well as Facebook. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we are on Google. So after the presentation, if anyone wants to connect or just follow Lazena's journey or the insurance journey, we are available on those platforms.
All right. Thank you, Miani. I appreciate that. One of the things that I know Nikki is passionate about is making sure that her clients understand the home process, the home buying process. And with that comes the insurance piece. And in order to purchase a home in California, unless you're paying cash, you're going to have homeowners insurance. And so given the fact that my background came from claims and I started on the homeowner side of claims, the fire side, I was able to see a lot of the gaps that customers had when it came time to actually having to use their policies. And so that's one of the things that I try to make sure the customers that I work with can try to avoid those gaps if at all possible. There are some things that you should know about homeowners insurance. Right here, we have about 10 facts that one of them is there are different types of homeowners policies, which is true. Not every policy is the same. Not every type of damage is actually covered by a homeowner's policy. And then some of the belongings may not fully be covered. And those are some of the things that we're going to touch on. And another thing that I think customers need to keep in mind is that home maintenance really matters. A homeowner's policy is not a maintenance policy. It is the customer's responsibility to maintain their home. because the homeowner's policy technically is for accidents, accidental direct physical loss. That's when we come into play. That's when we show up and see what type of coverages we can provide. You know, a lot of people have dogs, and some homeowners policies now, especially in California, are starting to exclude dogs. They won't take you if you have certain animals. Fortunately, State Farm doesn't. So if your dog ends up biting someone, we will provide coverage for the person that's injured. And not only dog bite, think about dog fright. The people who are running from dogs who injure themselves are also covered under the homeowner's policy. The other thing to keep in mind with the homeowner's policy is that when it comes time to damages, what does that actually mean? Does it mean my home is only covered in the event of a fire? No. There's other types of things that your home is covered under rather than just fire. Let me give you a scenario. Back in December, my youngest had purchased her first home, hadn't lived in the home 24 hours. She had been in there 8 hours. And we suffered a water loss because the plumber forgot to put a part on, and it flooded the whole floor downstairs to the garage. It was a nightmare.
Tell them the details.
Nobody was happy about it. We were literally sitting in this home. My oldest was downstairs watching Netflix or whatever on TV. And all we heard was screaming, saying it's raining inside. And we're like, how can it be raining inside? It's hot outside. We come running down and we just see the ceiling collapse. Fortunately, my daughter had homeowners insurance, and it made the process that much smoother. What they did was they moved her out of her home because it became uninhabitable and had her live elsewhere while her home was being repaired. And it repaired the personal property that was damaged as a result of that loss. Do we wish that on anyone? No. I mean, you owned your home for 8 hours and then this happens. It happened, but unfortunately, those type of things do happen. And so what I would recommend that customers start doing for those who are thinking about owning a home or those who actually have a home, start taking inventory of what you have. Because when there's a loss, you're not going to remember where things were. You're not going to remember what's in our home. Start taking an inventory. What we used to do in the old days, and I'm dating myself, we used to take a video of our house and put it in a safe deposit box. This new generation, they have the cloud, so they could just take it with their phone and just inventory, because when you're having to turn in a claim and you're already frantic and you're already upset, you're not going to remember where things are. So the way to help you during the claim process is that you're able to pull it up on your phone. So these are the things that I had, and you're able to give that to your claim rep. Another thing is when you're talking about homeowners, when you're going into an insurance agent's office or you're contacting them on the phone or you're contacting them by email, start asking the questions. What does this policy cover? Because all policies are not the same. Yes, they'll cover your dwelling, but why is my dwelling covered? How much of this covers my personal property? Some homeowners policies only cover 50% of your personal property. Some cover 75% of your personal property. Let's do an example. Say your home is insured for $300,000 and you have a loss and your personal property coverage is 50%. So that means you have $150,000 worth of coverage for your personal property. And personal property is anything you can pick up and take with you.
Oh, I just wanted to add a note on the personal property and when it comes to homeowners insurance, because a question that we get pretty frequently is, what is personal property, or how do I know exactly how much personal property I have in my home? Because let's be real, you're not saving receipts. You're probably not going to take a video of everything in your home. So the best way that myself and my team like to explain personal property is if you took your home or your apartment or your condo, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you own. Let's say you're living with your older brother and you're just renting a room. If you took that room and you flipped it upside down, everything that would sink to the bottom would be considered personal property, which is pretty much everything. And I can guarantee you, a lot of times people just want the lowest rate and they'll say, oh, I just have 10,000 of personal property. I don't own too much. Think of all your clothes, your shoes, your socks, your electronics. So those things add up. So 9 times out of 10, it's best to go higher when it comes to personal property than be underinsured. And another note on that is your personal property, that also includes the items that are in your vehicle. that is your personal property that is covered under your homeowner's insurance. It's not covered under auto insurance. So I think if you could take one thing away from the homeowner's piece, it would just be to value your personal property and double check that coverage amount. And whatever you think you need in terms of coverage, you need to multiply that by 5.
That she's talking from personal experience. Another thing is when you're talking to an agent and you're looking at going with that agent, ask them what kind of discounts do they offer for your homeowner's policy. A lot of times, if you combine your policies, they'll give you a multi-line discount, meaning if you have your auto with that carrier and you have your homeowners with that carrier, they'll give you a substantial discount on each product. Ask those type of questions. In addition to that, when you're looking at your homeowner's policy, think about, if I have to leave my house and have to live elsewhere because something happened to my home, how much coverage do I have? Years ago, 2 years ago, I would be able to tell you we didn't put a limit on that. It was whatever you incurred is what we would pay. Times have changed. Generally, what happens now is if you have a dwelling, the structure, the company will take 30% of whatever that dwelling is covered for. And that's how much money you will have to live on while your home is being rebuilt or replaced. That did not be a thing. It just became a thing 24 months ago. I have all customers that I worked with, all of my customers, I contacted them personally to let them know those changes. If you currently own a home, start asking your agent, what do I have for additional living expenses? So that you could start making educated decisions when you start looking at carriers. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, when you own a home, one of the things that you didn't know was that if you're in an auto accident and you don't have the proper coverage, one thing that can happen is they go after your assets. And what's your biggest asset? Your biggest financial asset, according to Nikki, when we spoke earlier, is your home. That's going to be one of your biggest investments. So if you're riding around in a car that has low coverage and you own a home, there is a possibility that you may have a lien against your home, or you may have to sell because you don't have enough coverage. One thing that we talk about in our office, State Farm, we are not cheap by any means. I don't claim to be cheap. I'm not trying to be cheap. Cheap premiums don't always equal good coverage. Look at the policies that you have and make sure that you have enough coverage that if something happens, you will not lose your assets. In addition to that, know the difference between collision coverage and comprehensive. A lot of our customers, when they're coming to us new, don't know the difference. When you say I have full coverage, what does full coverage really mean? Full coverage doesn't always mean that I have collision and comprehensive coverage. Full coverage could mean I have comprehensive, collision, rent-a-car, and all additional kinds of coverage. Start asking questions. If you're agent and you're paying them premium, you have a right to ask those questions. There are ways to pay less for auto insurance. One of the ways is to increase your deductible. Another way is if, like we talked about with the homeowners, if you have a multi-line discount, if your auto is with the same company and your homeowners is with the same company, you should be able to get a multi-line discount, which would also decrease your premium, which will allow you to make sure you have the right coverages in the event of a loss. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're talking about auto insurance, because that's important as well as home. When you're talking about auto insurance, make sure that your policy allows someone to drive your car. All auto policies do not allow people to drive their car. There are certain carriers that says if someone is driving your car, there is no coverage. State Farm coverage is if someone is driving your car and you gave them permission, we will extend the coverage. Those are some of the things that a lot of people don't know. And we have customers coming to us after they've already had an accident with another carrier because they let their friend drive their car for whatever reason and an accident happened. And now they have to come out of pocket for those expenses. These are some of the questions that I would like for whoever's listening to this to start asking their insurance agent. Hey, if someone drives my car, do I have coverage? If not, can I get the coverage? In addition, with the auto insurance, some people use their vehicle for work. You have Uber drivers, you have Uber Eat people, you have DoorDash people. If you're on the clock doing that type of work, your personal auto insurance coverage policy will not cover an accident. Check with your auto carrier to see if you need to add an endorsement to make sure that if I'm doing this job on the side, or this is my full-time job, I will have coverage under my personal automobile coverage. Next slide. Life insurance, near and dear to my heart. Life insurance, some people will have it at work, some people don't have it at all. If your main goal is to keep your home in your family and to provide generational wealth for your members, one thing that can do that is life insurance. You can make sure you have enough coverage where if something happens to you, your home will be paid off, your debt will be paid off. There's different types of coverages. I won't go into them today because I know our main focus is the property and casualty, which is the homeowners and covering those type of things. But start thinking about that. If something happened to you, we just went through a pandemic and we lost some people in our book of business. We lost some people that we didn't anticipate losing to COVID and to other things, to car accident and the rest. Those who had life insurance, we were able to give money to the family. Those who didn't, we sent a dish. If you have someone that you're working with and you have dependents, start thinking about, I know I don't like talking about this, but maybe I should start thinking about, I might need to start thinking about getting life insurance because I want this home to stay in my family. I don't want my children to have to sell it. I don't want my spouse to have to sell it because we don't have enough money to cover it. That's your biggest asset. One of the ways to keep it in your family is to get life insurance. Next slide. Disability insurance is also another important insurance to think about when you own a home. Will you be able to pay your mortgage if you're disabled and unable to work? The only person who can answer that is you. If you know for a fact that if you become disabled and you have no money coming in or you don't have a reserve set up, you may want to think about getting disability insurance. The short-term disability is a 1 to 3 year period, which is usually when somebody gets injured from work. That's about the time that they're off. Get the one that does the mortgage disability where that they'll pay your mortgage while you're unable to work. And if you know, or you have the occupation, which could take you out longer, meaning you'll be unable to work for an extended period of time, like some of our plumbers and longshoremen get the long-term disability benefits because if they don't work, they have no money coming in, so that you can keep your assets. These are all types of insurance that helps you protect your assets. So if you know that if you are unable to work and you own a home, or even if you don't, if you rent an apartment and you can't afford to pay your rent, think about getting a short-term disability policy. See if your company has disability, or that you can get a group disability policy to help pay for some of your debt, pay for some of your assets so that you can keep them until you're able to go back to work or until you're able to draw retirement. Next slide. Now, earlier we talked about personal property of the home. With the fires that are happening in California, we're always on fire. A lot of landlords are starting to request that their tenants have renters insurance. And one of the reasons, when I asked one of our customers who owns multiple properties, he said the reason why he wants his tenants to have renters insurance, if something happens, he wants to make sure they understand that he's not responsible for their items, their personal property. Miani talked about how if you turned it upside down, everything that shakes to the bottom is your personal property. I always tell customers, think about personal property in terms of your silverware, your sheets, things that you may have gotten on sale. And when it comes time to a loss, because a lot of losses are unexpected and unanticipated, you're going to have to buy that stuff at full cost. So it's no longer on sale. Renter's insurance is not that expensive. It starts anywhere from $10.25 a month to however much you want it to be. The other thing with renter's insurance, just like with the homeowners, you can get a multi-line discount on your auto. So whoever you have your auto insurance with, think about getting renter's insurance, tying the two together. And what we found in most cases, the discount that you receive from your auto, majority of the time pays the full cost of the renters. So you end up getting two policies for one. Not all the time, but in most cases you do, or it's about a $2 difference. But yet now you have coverage for your vehicle, you have coverage for your personal property. You also have coverage if you own a dog, if you have a dog and you're renting and your dog gets out and damages someone's property or injures someone, Your renter's policy will do the same type of liability coverage that your homeowners will. In addition to that, with the wildfires and them having certain areas that they're not writing in, if you have renter's insurance currently, and then you decide to move somewhere else and start purchasing a home, you can convert your renter's insurance to a homeowner's without having to do much work. The interesting thing is, in certain areas where they don't write insurance, if you're already an existing customer with renters, most likely the company will write your homeowners because you're an existing customer already. Next slide. Now, I know some of you may have heard about PLUP or umbrella policies or personal liability umbrella policy. I like the personal liability umbrella policy because earlier in the conversation, we talked about protecting your assets and making sure that your home is insured to value and making sure your personal property is insured to value. And we spoke on briefly about generational wealth and keeping things in the family. The personal liability umbrella policy is just that. It protects everything that you own. It's your liability. You take everything that you own, you put it under the umbrella, and it protects you. And what I mean by that is, let's go back to the car, for example. Say you're in a car accident and it's a pretty bad accident and you injure someone. And say that person is a minor and you're going to have to pay up to however many years until that child reaches age majority. That can wipe out a lot of people's financial assets. The one thing that the umbrella policy will do is say, hey, before you come after my client's assets, we have additional coverage on the table and we provide the attorney fees for our customer. So now not only do you not have to worry about the judgment that may come against you, you don't have to worry about the attorney fees because your personal liability umbrella policy will pay for all of that. It's not that expensive. It's an add-on policy. It also covers land that you may inherit in Alabama or Oklahoma. As long as you own it and you inherit it, your umbrella will protect you outside of the state of California. It doesn't necessarily have to be here. If you buy a home and you say, you know what, I want to start buying rental property because I want to start becoming a landlord too, your personal liability will cover the liabilities that may come against you from your rental property, as well as your land in Oklahoma or Alabama, as well as any of your assets in California. Earthquake insurance. Whew. In the state of California, they have created their own policy. It's called the CEA, which is the California Earthquake Authority, which means if there is damage to your home, this policy will go into effect. Back in the old days, when I first started, you would be able to get some type of coverage under your homeowners for earthquake. Maybe they'll pay for the windows or maybe they'll pay for the carpet. Now what they do is if you don't have earthquake and there is damage to your home, there is no coverage. We have had people over the years try to turn in claims for earthquake damage to their home under their homeowner's policy. Your homeowner's policy does not cover earthquake at all. The state of California came up with the California Earthquake Authority policy, and that is what is to be used with the homeowner's policy to get earthquake. What happens when you're a homeowner and you decide to buy earthquake insurance? Whoever your agent is will do the application and tie your homeowner's policy with earthquake. They have higher deductibles than the homeowners. They're not inexpensive. I would be lying to you if I told you they were cheap because they're not. And part of the reason is because when there is major damage from an earthquake, it does substantial damage to your home. Back in 1989, the Loma Prieta quake, I was a claim rep and I saw a lot of the damages to the homes in Santa Cruz. And in 1994, I saw a lot of the damages in the Northridge quake. And it was after the Northridge quake that California came together and said, we need to create one policy for our state so that whenever there's a loss, you can go and everybody will have the same exact coverage. It won't be this policy is this policy is that. Fortunately, in this particular case, California Earthquake Insurance is just that, for earthquake. Before we go to the next slide, I want to touch on not only is earthquake not covered under the homeowners, flood is not covered under the homeowners. And in the state of California, and not just the state, it's actually nationwide, there are flood policies that are to be used when there's a flood. Example, in, let's say Louisiana, they have hurricanes. So in Louisiana, they would have to buy hurricane insurance, where in California, we'd have to buy earthquake insurance. The difference between hurricane and flood comes from the bottom. Hurricane comes from the top. So in our state, if we have a hurricane, we'll provide coverage because we don't usually have hurricanes in California. However, if there is a flood and the water is coming from up under, there will be no coverage under your homeowner's policy. That happened, especially in October, when we had those heavy rains and water was coming downhill and flooding homes, and cars were going down the street and hitting homes. If it's damage to your home from a flood, it's not covered under the homeowners. When you purchase your home, and I'm sure Nikki can probably help you all on this, when you purchase your home, your bank will tell you if you're in a flood zone, and they'll tell you where you are on the map. If that is the case, you need to let your agent know so that you can get the flood insurance, so that one, you can close on your home because they will require you to get it, and to make sure you have the proper coverage. Next slide. Ooh, business insurance, right after my own heart. Let's see. Business insurance is important. Many people think you have to have business insurance when you have a business location outside of the home that you drive to every day, and you open up a door and people walk in. Business insurance is also when you run a business out of your home. They have business in the home insurance. So if you have a home or you're renting and you run a business out of there and you have business property in there, your homeowner's policy won't cover your business items. Your renter's policy won't cover your business items. And if you're driving your personal car and you have your business items in there, your car insurance won't cover your business items either. That is one of the reasons why we started noticing, and we make sure that when we're doing homeowners policies, we ask all of our customers, do you run a business out of your home? Because a lot of them say, oh yeah, I do. I have this side business, or I do this type of thing, or I work from home. And then they think if there's a loss, we're going to pay for their business items. A homeowner's is personal. We don't expect to pay for business items under a personal policy. That's why I started encouraging people to think about, if you're running a home business, or even some of my hairstylists that we insure, they rent a booth. If someone wants to sue you because you dyed the hair incorrectly, your business insurance policy will pay that lawsuit for you, not your personal, your business insurance. So business insurance covers more than just having to go to a location. It covers you, your business in your home, or a barber and he cut somebody's hair wrong and they're mad and they want to sue him. Your business insurance will come into play there. In addition to that, your business insurance will cover your personal property in the event of a loss, a fire, a theft, a hurricane, which we don't have really, a water loss, a windstorm. That's why I always encourage people, if you're running any type of business in your home or location, barbers, salons, masseuses, nail techs, think about getting business insurance. And that's it. Are there any questions?
Well, I'm going to say thank you. I appreciate your presentation, because although we're talking about homeowner insurance, every aspect that you spoke to, if you're a homeowner, the risk could impact the home. And I think from what we see as housing counselors, it's a lot. So what people will tend to do is be intimidated, or they'll say, let me just get the homeowner insurance, I'll worry about the rest later. And from my experience and exposure, typically it's all good till it's not good anymore. And people have a hard time paying insurance premiums because they don't see the value if nothing happens. But let something happen, and it's the most important dollar you've ever spent. So I would encourage everyone to at least have the conversation with a professional. Because as we say, at least know what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to. And if you can't do it all, maybe prioritize what's most important and have that be a part of your housing plan, that after a year, you're going to add this, or but you stay in a consultative conversation. Would you agree, Lazena, that in picking an agent, someone should be more of a consultant agent versus a transactional one? Because as consumers, we don't know. And a lot of times agents just give you what you ask for, but we don't know. So you should be looking for someone who is actually willing to consult and educate, as you've just done this evening.
I agree. And if they don't, just say, well, will you do a financial review with me? So I'll know what I'm supposed to have.
Yeah, and I think the experience to your part will help support those type of conversations, someone who is invested in all aspects and can think of it holistically than just really linear on just the home. So I really appreciate how you brought it all together. So based on those that are with us this evening, what questions do you have? What's resonating with you, or anything that Xenia can clarify or speak more about?
Oh, I can't hear you.
Thank you. I'm more afraid of the live mic than, so I stay on mute more times than people can hear me, but thank you. I was just checking, making sure we hadn't missed any questions
Okay.
in the Q&A or in the chat. So I know that you shared on the presentation, but again, for those that are joining us, how best to contact you, and are you one that's willing to do a complimentary review of an existing policy or one that they may be considering as they're looking to purchase the first home?
I would be happy to, if they let me know that they were on this call and they're coming from you, I'll be happy to do a complimentary. Now, as Miani said, I'm very candid. And my job is to educate. And once you're educated, you make your educated decision. I'm fine with that.
And that's all you can do. So what's the best way to get in contact with you? I know you shared your social handles, but if they want to get more information about you and your team.
Well, they can contact the office. Our number is 510-549-7400. Or if they want to send an email, they can send it to www.LazenaKelly-Andrada, all one word, .com, and it'll come into my inbox.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you carving out the evening, and for those that participated, claim that this was valuable. So whether you are anticipating buying a home, do not get discouraged because it's a lot, but you don't have to do it all at one time. But to Xenia, you do need to know what's out there and what the risks are. And transparency never harmed anyone, because you got to know. And for those that own a home, hopefully you are thinking through the last time you looked at your policy or some things resonated with you that it may be time to revisit. And one last thing I'd like to add, just from my personal experience, and Lazena is my insurance agent. Outside of earthquake and flood, also pay attention, especially if you are looking for a home. They now have dry zones. So if you are in areas that could potentially be a part of a fire, that may also jeopardize or increase premium. So that's something else that you want to consider. So fire is also something I'm hearing more about outside of just flood.
Especially in California, we are burning all the time.
Yeah. So I appreciate the time that everyone spent, and as a very powerful woman has said, we're going to give you back your time, reclaim your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you again for the time that you spent with us, and hopefully you found this time valuable, and so much appreciate your support and partnership.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nikki. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, you guys take care. Stay cool.
You do the same.
Okay, bye.